Average Pat's Movie Reviews.
Hi everyone, Average Pat here to sit to chat today about the movie 1917. I apologize for delaying getting this review posted. I unfortunately threw my back out today after seeing it last Friday, and it's taken a couple days for me to get back in shape where I could sit in my lumpy old chair. Haven't gotten a new one yet, still working on getting the funds for it. This movie is directed by Sam Mendes, and the cinematography was done by Roger Deakins. They both worked together before on Skyfall, one of the James Bond adventures, which was actually the very first ever movie formatted especially for IMAX. This movie, however, is the second. The wide aspect, the beautiful colors, the sound, everything was made directly for the IMAX theaters. The music in this movie was done by Thomas Newman. The film editing was done by Lee Smith, and goodness gracious, if the editing wasn't one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in a movie, I don't know what to tell you it was. The cinematography was beautiful, but the editing made everything so smooth and incredible. This movie stars Dean Charles Chapman and George McKay. They are cast as Lance Corporal Blake and Lance Corporal Schofield. There are a lot of other people in here. There are quite a few cameos. They're not really relevant. They are, but they're not. Don't take it the wrong way. The point of the movie is Blake and Schofield are given the arduous task of going behind enemy lines, going to an isolated regiment and warning them of the German retreat has actually been faux pas into, everybody thinks it's just a mistake. They're retreating. It's a big mistake. It's a big, they have them on the run. But the faux pas is actually the fact that the Germans actually retreated to a very heavily reinforced trench system and are waiting for the British to advance and actually want them to advance so they can slaughter the whole entire group. This regiment follows them and is on their own and actually runs the risk of being wiped out. 1,600 men. Lance Corporal Blake's brother being among them. Blake and Schofield are told, you've got till dawn the next morning to get to this group to make sure they realize this is not correct. Here is a written order, pass it along, make sure you get this air, or we're going to lose 1,600 people. No pressure, have fun. It's an incredible amount of pressure for two men to undertake. The horrors and the tribulations and the difficulties they go through in getting to the regiment behind the lines where everybody else has been entrenched for a while is overwhelming. The beauty of this movie is that it's done in one continuous shot, whereas at the very beginning of the movie, and I'm not ruining anything by saying this, the very beginning of the movie, the camera starts on Lance Corporal Blake. And the very end of the movie is when the message is or isn't delivered. It's one of those things where it's one continuous take, one continuous shot, and there's no cut scenes or anything along those lines of the camera switches and turns to a different angle. When the camera needs to have somebody else in the focus, it actually focuses on Blake and Schofield and then works around them so they're in the picture. One scene is when they're talking to the general and they go into a tunnel or into a reinforced bunker inside the trench, and the camera goes from in front of them as they're walking towards this tunnel or towards this bunker enforcement, and then it kind of goes to the side and watches them both walk into it, follows them in, and then goes and faces the general where they're both at. The camera then goes behind the general as it's going around, as the people are talking, goes around and then faces Blake and Schofield, and then follows them out and on their adventure. It is amazingly well done. The editing is just ridiculously insane. Roger Deakins outdid himself with the cinematography, the color, the light, the contrast, the the filters, if there were used. There were a couple used, but you'll be obvious to see that. The shooting in the night, shooting in the day, everything is just so amazingly well done. It's incredible. It's overwhelming. It's honestly, and I've talked to other people about it, including my brother, who's a pretty big movie aficionado. This is one of the best war movies I've ever seen, and very well done and very well presented, and is nominated for Best Picture, and deservedly so. My automatic call when I talked to him, he just actually saw the movie last night. I talked to him early this morning, and I said, hands down, this is winning Best Editing and Best Cinematography. If it doesn't, it's a travesty. At the very minimum, it has to win those two for Oscars. But it does stand a chance for Best Picture. The story is incredible. The acting is very well done. Mr. Chapman and Mr. McKay do incredible jobs of portraying their people, the struggles that they go through. Unfortunately, some of the scenes that are explosive or high tension and all that are a little bit hinted at and severely shown in the trailer. So if you don't want to see what happens or don't have any idea of what it is, don't watch the trailer. Here I am, the guy who always watches every trailer when they first come out. But it did take away from the movie a little bit because I knew when they walked into a certain area, I knew what was going to happen. When I walked into a different area, I knew what was going to, just from what I'd seen, the glimpse of it in the trailer. It doesn't ruin a movie. It does take a little bit away from the scene, the impact of it, I think, a couple times. But overall, it's not that big of an issue. The continuity and the camera view being so smooth and so well orchestrated and so perfectly edited just floors anybody who watches this. Everybody I talked to in the theater that I was at, seeing it in IMAX, I actually got to see that it's the last day in IMAX in the theater near me. They were just overwhelmed. Like, my goodness, that was incredible that it was done in one continuous shot. The focus on the development of the characters, the focus on their mission, the focus on, the obstacles they overcome and they have to go through, is all beautifully captured in one continuous take. And it's amazing the way the camera goes through, the mud of the trenches, the dust of the inside of one of the mines, carved out areas, the forest. You hear the trees, you hear the birds, you hear them stepping on branches and crackling. The sound editing is often overlooked in movies. It is not overlooked in this one. When they're walking through the mud of the trenches, you hear their individual feet squish through the mud. You see the slop. You see them slip and slide. When they're walking through the dust, you can hear the footsteps coming down on the crushed rock in the dust area. When they're in the woods, like I said, you hear the trees snapping. You hear the branches breaking. You hear them walking through. You hear the wind blowing through the leaves. It's all just incredibly well presented and well done. This movie will floor you. It's a very great movie, very well done. I can't recommend it enough. Easily a 5 out of 5 in my view. I know a lot of people get frustrated because I rate a lot of movies really high, but this one easily takes a cake for them. Unfortunately, I don't think Mr. Chapman or Mr. McKay will be nominated for either of their roles. They do deserve at least a recognition for the stress or portrayal of the hardships and the overwhelming audacity to survive what they do and to do what they do and to, the hardships and struggles they go through and the emotion on their face and their body language and the way they hold themselves changes so much during this movie. It's very well portrayed. So I think they deserve recognition as well. So good job, guys. I don't know if they'll see mine, but, at least somebody recognized it. Easily go see this movie, rent it when it comes out, buy the widescreen, buy it on digital or 4K. I'd highly recommend this would be a 4K one that you watch it in, just due to the sheer beauty of the cinematography. This movie is well worth the cost of the ticket price, well worth the movie viewing, and definitely deserving of all the nominations that it has. I believe it's actually nominated for 10 Oscars. And like I said, it's very well deserving of all of its nominations. I don't think it's doing as well in the box office as many people expected it to, but that's mood at this point. It doesn't matter. It's a beautiful movie, and the word of mouth is what's helping it go and get better and better. Go see it. If you don't get a chance to see it in a theater, as soon as it comes out on digital or on 4K, get it. Watch it. It's worth it. It's beautiful, and I promise you won't regret it. If you like this or any of my other movie reviews, make sure you click like on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube page, and click the little notification bell. That way you'll know when I actually do post new movie reviews. I'm going to be making a concerted effort to start doing a lot more now that with the new year coming upon us. Lots of new movies coming out that are going to be really big, and I'm really looking forward to. So it should be quite a good year for movies. Any suggestions, any comments, any questions, please feel free to send them to me, either on YouTube or on my Facebook page. I look forward to hearing them. And thank you guys very much. Have a good day.